Our first key term is the Cold War. This was a period of hostility between the United States and the Soviet Union, starting at the end of World War II and ending with the fall of the Soviet Union. Its significance was that it was a rivalry between the U.S. and the Soviet Union to be the most powerful nation in the world. Make sure you're writing the significance, drawing a picture, or using key terms in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. Our next key term is the domino theory. This is the political theory that if one country falls to communism, other countries near it will too. An example of this was the belief that if Vietnam fell to communism, the surrounding countries will also become communist, as shown in the picture below. Make sure you're writing this example, drawing a picture, or using key terms in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. Our next key term for the Cold War is containment. This is the idea of keeping communism under control and not allowing it to spread. The significance was that the U.S. wanted to keep communism where it was located and not allow it to spread anywhere else in the world. Make sure you're writing the significance, drawing a picture, or using key terms in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. The next key term is the Iron Curtain. This was a symbolic boundary dividing Europe into two separate areas from the end of World War II in 1945 until the end of the Cold War in 1991. East of the Iron Curtain, the countries were connected to or influenced by the Communist Soviet Union. To the west of the Iron Curtain, countries were more democratic and developed their own international economic and military alliances. So the significance of the Iron Curtain was that it was an imaginary line in Europe dividing the more democratic countries from the communist countries. Make sure you're drawing a picture of this, writing down the significance, or using key terms in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. Our next key term is the Truman Doctrine. This was the U.S. foreign policy created on March 12, 1947 by President Truman. Truman declared that the U.S. was a leader of the free world and must support democracy worldwide and fight against communism. An example of this is when the U.S. gave economic aid or money to Greece and Turkey to promote democracy and help them resist communism. Make sure you're using this example, using key terms, or drawing a picture in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. Our next key term is the Warsaw Pact. This was a mutual defense treaty between 8 communist states of Central and Eastern Europe in existence during the Cold War. An example is that this alliance was between the Soviet Union, Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary, Poland, and Romania. Make sure you're using this example, using key terms, or drawing a picture in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. Our next key term is NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This was a formal alliance between Western European and North American countries. Its main purpose was to promote democracy and defend each other from the possibility of the Communist Soviet Union from taking control of their nation. An example is that this was an alliance between the U.S., Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, and Britain. So those were the original 12 founding members. Make sure you're using this example, using key terms, or drawing a picture of this in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. Our next key term is the Red Scare. This was the fear of a potential rise of communism in the United States. An example of the Red Scare is when Senator Joseph McCarthy went on witch hunts trying to expose communists living in the U.S., also known as McCarthyism. Make sure you're using this example, using key terms, or drawing a picture of the Red Scare in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart. Our last key term is command economy. This is a type of economic system in which one group, usually the government, heavily regulates the planned economy. The idea is centered around improving productivity to improve the standard of living for everyone. The significance of a command economy is that it's the economy of a communist nation or country. Make sure you're using this significance, using key terms, or drawing a picture of a command economy in the far right-hand side of your vocabulary chart.